Welcome back. In news just in, the Deputy Minister in the Presidency and ANC-NEC member, Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize, has passed away. The 69-year-old Deputy Minister responsible for women, youth and persons with disabilities died this morning, but details around her passing are not yet clear. She was appointed to the portfolio in 2019 by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Professor Mkhize was also instrumental as the chairperson of the Andrew and June Mlangeni Foundation. More on this story in our later bulletins. But for now, we continue to get reaction on the passing of the Deputy Minister, and we're joined by Professor Saths Cooper, and we also look into her life and in the role in the struggle for liberation in South Africa. Well, anti-apartheid activist Professor Saths Cooper joins us now. A very good morning, Professor. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, your reaction in this sad news today.
I think most of us have been severely shocked by this untimely passing. Just 10 days ago, we marked her 69th birthday. And Hlengiwe is not merely a political personality, but she is also a mother, a teacher, somebody who played a significant role in the move from the psychology of apartheid to one of liberation. And she is well remembered from her time at the University of Zululand, then on to Wits University, and thereafter she played roles in other institutions. She was involved in the Goldstone inquiry into children's rights. She was an active member of the Psychology and Apartheid Committee that was instrumental in forging a new path for psychology in this country. She played a role in the Family Institute, in violence intervention, in the run-up to our first democratic elections. And she was also an ambassador after she finished her stint in the TRC, ably chairing the reparations committee of the TRC. And the tweets and social media comments from people who've known her are quite telling. Somebody described her, and it's true, she was a wonderfully thoughtful and compassionate person. And true to her middle name, Buhle, she really had a beautiful soul that many of us were privileged to associate with. And throughout her political life, she was always concerned about the role of children, what we're doing in terms of changing the dented psyche of our troubled nation. She would call at unexpected times asking, what are you guys doing in this and this area? You can't leave some of these things to the politicians because these politicians don't understand what's going on in the psyche of our people. So that's the Hlengiwe Buhle that we all knew.
And how did you know her personally, and what was she to you?
Look, she was a very close colleague and friend. From the time that she was teaching at the University of Zululand, she joined the Psychology and Apartheid Committee, was very active in attempting to remove the discipline from its very close past with apartheid. You know that Vervoet was a prime minister, was a leading psychologist, was an architect of apartheid. And the role that psychology played in that period was a nefarious one. So many of us felt we should rescue this discipline that ought to serve all of humanity. And she played a singular role in that. Always engaging, always personable, very clear with her views, would take on issues, would challenge us on many things. But at the end of the day, she had that caring, compassionate, and open soul to the issues. she always wanted to change what was happening in the country by changing people's behavior, by giving them a better chance. And it is really sad that somebody who was a champion of those rights is now no more.
How should we remember her? I mean, how can she be remembered for the role that she played in politics in general and her role as the Deputy Minister in the Presidency in particular?
Well, I can't speak for other sectors, but I know that in the psychology sector, all of us are really shocked by it, and we will be doing lots of tributes, and people will be engaging on celebrating this life and carrying through her unfinished business. That unfinished business to look at what we're doing, the damage we're doing to our children through our own terrible behaviors, and how that can change. And in the political sphere, to up the game, to ensure that politicians and policymakers understand that the inner workings of the mind that she was passionate about need to be looked at, because you can't deal with some of these problems merely through a criminal justice approach. It actually doesn't solve the problem. And she was very passionate and concerned about that aspect. She would call and say, hey, this minister just actually doesn't understand the issues. So what are you guys doing to pressure them to change their attitude and to understand what's going on? And I think it behoves us to make sure that that struggle continues, because if we fail, our country fails, and the lapses that we have, the further fracture of the psyche, of the personality, and in turn of how we behave in society in a very cleaved, divided country is going to be missed.
Right. Professor Saths Cooper, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for sharing your reflections with us. All right, that was Professor Saths Cooper, an anti-apartheid activist, just sharing his reflection with that on the passing of Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize, who used to be a close colleague of his. This is The Agenda on SABC News. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly.